Well, hello and welcome to this video where I will introduce to the online lab one. This is the introduction and I will talk a little bit about the background. In the next videos, you will have the detailed instructions of what to do. And as I mentioned in the lecture, this lab is very, very easy to do because I already made most of the homework, but I will explain what to do later. So first of all, the background. So uh, this we need this lab because in the assignment in this group assignment we will collect quantitative data with a survey. We will develop a survey and we will send it to university students and then we will get the data from there. But because we need this survey, we need to spend some time creating that survey. That is what we are going to do today, to create this survey. So keep in mind when you work on this that the target of who is going to answer to this survey is going to be university students. So it's very important university and it's very important students. Anything else is open. So is it mandatory to be business students? Not really. We can have other other schools, not only business. Is it mandatory to be Swedish students? Not mandatory. We can have students from other parts of the world or other parts, other countries, other cities. So no worries with that. Important university and students. And then what will be in the survey? Well, we need questions that are going to measure the variables that we want to measure, the concepts that we are discussing in each of our topics. So because we have so many topics, I mean, we have different combinations. In the end, we have 20 different combinations between very different topics. It will be a quite long survey because we will use the same survey to collect the data for everyone. So it will be a little bit long. I think that it will take like 10 minutes, 12 minutes to answer, but it can be a long survey. And the expectations is that at least, very, very least, 200 people respond to this survey. And I think that in our course, we are 100 and a little bit more. So just with you, if you answer, that will give us almost half of what we need. So the idea is that you answer to the survey and then you also send it to, I don't know, maybe try with 3 or 4 friends that are also university students. So the next question is what questions are we going to put in the survey? Because designing the survey is complex and it takes time. I mean, now it's going to be easy because I made most of the homework I already said, so you won't have to worry about many things. When you do your thesis, probably you will have to do this and maybe your supervisor will help too. So first of all, the questions need to be carefully designed so that the answer is useful. A typical issue is that sometimes we ask for the age of someone and then we leave that question open. So we ask, "What's your age?" And then someone will answer, 23 years old, and another person will write 23.5. Another person, 22 years, another person, 21. That is complicated and that is problematic. You will learn in the next lab when we code and when we analyze the data because the input will be 23, 23.5, 23 years. It's going to be a big mess in the data that it comes back. So we need to be careful on what we ask and what limits we use when we ask. For example, in Google Forms, which is the software or the tool that I use when I design a survey, there is a limitation where, for example, I can limit the answer that they can only give me a number, only a number and nothing else, no letters. So I think that's very useful when I ask for the age. I can also limit it to be an integer, so no decimals. So I can maybe put a limitation that if I ask for the age, it has to be something in between 1 and 99. No decimals, no letters, and no weird numbers like -20 or something. That is very useful later on. So keep in mind all of these things when we design our survey. And connected to that, when we ask a question, I will discuss a little bit this later. Um, when we ask a question where we want to get a scale, like for example, are you stressed from 1 to 10? it's important to keep the same scale for all the questions. Like if we ask that for the stress and we ask another thing for happiness, or we ask for the global mindset, it has to always be the same, 1 to 10, 1 to 10, or 1 to 7, whatever you decide, but it has to be the same scale. The next point is that, and this is super important, is that the questions cannot be like invented just for our survey. Like, I know we want to measure if students are happy, but we cannot really ask from 1 to 10 how happy you are, because we don't really know if that question is good enough. If we ask, are you happy? Yes or no? I guess that's even worse. We don't even have any variance. It's only 1 or 0. That's very bad. And if we ask, are you happy from 1 to 10? Maybe it's too simple. We need to have a much better kind of question. Generally, there are kind of two ways to solve this, what questions to use. If you want to invent new questions, you have to test the questions before you use them to kind of test a hypothesis. So I think that will take a lot of time. So it's not a good idea, even for you in your thesis, it's not a good idea to invent new questions because that is going to take a lot of time to test them. So the best approach is instead of doing, instead of kind of inventing something new, it's better if you rely on previous studies. So we use questions that have been used in other studies. There are studies on happiness. So let's go to those studies and then let's see what they say and which questions they use, and then we will copy these questions. It's possible to make some adjustments, but try to make minimal adjustments because then you will have less reliability if you modify a lot. Modify as less as possible. And another important thing is that beyond the dependent and the independent variables that are very important, so for example, happiness and financial stress, happiness is the dependent variable and financial stress is the independent variable. Beyond this, there are also control variables that we are going to ask, like age, gender, level of education, and all of these things, because maybe happiness is not entirely explained by financial stress. It is possible that happiness can be explained by the level of education or the gender or age or other things like maybe where you come from, or I don't know, other things that we call them control variables because we are not going to test if gender is relevant or not, but it will help our model to be stronger, to give more explanation to the variance in happiness. You will learn more about control variables in the next lab when we do the analysis. But right now, just trust me that it's important to add more questions beyond only independent and dependent variables. So what you are going to do in this lab, and I keep saying it is simple because it's very simple. You need to keep watching the videos. I think there will be 2 more videos where I will go into step by step what to do. Uh, but maybe the first thing to do is to familiarize with your topics and variables. So again, check your group number, check which topic do you have, like if you have global mindset and professional skills or professional aspirations, sorry, or if you have sustainable consumer behavior and biospheric values, familiarize with what do you have, which is your dependent and which is your independent. Second, identify the literature that will be relevant, but that I have already updated. I will explain that in a second in the next video. And then write a text explaining how you measure the variables. I will also provide a video explaining how to do it. And finally, just submit your document. This document, it will actually go as a copy paste in your group assignment, and it will solve one part of the method chapter. So it's, I think, good progress. Um, this that you will do, you will just copy paste later on for your group assignment. So it's good that you now submit in Canvas. I will take a look, and if there is something wrong, I will let you know. So then you can have that already as good in your group assignment. So that's basically what you have to do. So in the next video, I will start maybe showing you the literature that I have already identified, because that's why I said this is easy, because normally this can take a lot of time. It's like I want to study happiness, but I need to find the questions that measure happiness. So then you need to go and find studies and all of this. And sometimes studies don't reveal the questions, and it's very frustrating. So I am going to save you that because I have already found the articles and I have already selected some questions that are generally used in many articles. So I will already give you everything. So that's the end of this first video. Let's move to the next one.